This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benerofe, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And me, Peter Katz, formerly with NBC, ABC News, and stations from Boston to Los Angeles. White Plains Week, what's happening, who are the newsmakers, what's in store for the future. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. White Plains, Westchester, and the world. This is John Bailey, and we're rocking again on Newsstand from White Plains, New York, USA, across the USA and the world. And right now I'm joined with Peter Katz, the anchor for all seasons, and the dean of the School of Journalism of the city of White Plains, Jim Benerofe, founder of the pioneering SuburbanStreet.com. And Jim, give us the headlines flat out.
Okay, and here are the stories for the week of August 26, 2016. Sheldon Silver remains unjailed until his appeal is decided. Drug Enforcement Agency seizes $2.3 million in heroin in Cortland residential neighborhood. 2 arrested and charged with multiple felonies. County legislator Ken Jenkins announces he's running for county executive in 2017. Julie Killian of Rye opposes George Latimer for 37th District. Hillary Clinton headed for landslide, Quinnipiac College poll says. Peter Katz will comment on our continuing feature, Trump Today and Clinton and Friends. Westchester County says Rye lawsuit demanding final say in what is done with Playland is ludicrous, will fight suit. Playland attendance figures to date are in, a White Plains Week exclusive. 2 new flights will be starting from Westchester County Airport. First, offshore wind turbines rise 3 miles off Block Island, not too far from Long Island Sound. The Sioux Indians protest an underground pipeline, dramatizing the environmental debate. White Plains firefighter accused of withholding evidence in Eric Refvik, the wrong way hit and run. Driver investigation. Meanwhile, the bars that served Refvik go without punishment of any kind. City School District saves $1.6 million in interest by retiring and reissuing bonds at lower rates. Tim Connors to be held over as interim superintendent of schools in meeting scheduled for August 29th. White Plains Plaza to undergo renovation.
Thank you very much, Jim. And now let's go to the White Plains Week Rolo Newsreel March of Time for August 26th. And there's a story that we did not get in last week, which is important. Ken Jenkins, in the spirit of election things, is breaking out of the gate early. He has decided he is going to run for county executive in 2017. He says in his statement on his website, the Westchester County government is no different. The budget has been mismanaged. Our roads and bridges aren't repaired regularly. Because the budget has been mismanaged, we have to have a staring contest to fight for funding our public safety efforts properly, hoping that nobody is hurt before someone blinks. And because the budget has been mismanaged, we can't provide help for those who need mental health services, protection from more frequent flooding in coastal communities, or basic park services. So he is we can see what tack he is going to take. Any comments on him?
Well, this is not the
Coming
first
out
time
so
that
early.
he has expressed a desire
Yeah.
to become the county executive.
Right.
He, of course, has to get the Democratic Party nomination first in order to have any chance of actually staging a realistic campaign. There, no doubt, will be others who will come forward in an attempt to get the nomination for themselves. Whether Rob Astorino will run for re-election as county executive is a matter of speculation at this point. I have my own speculation. I think he will. I think his track record is good. It's entirely possible that Astorino will again challenge Andrew Cuomo for governor, as he did last time. We will have to see, but in order to do that, he would not have to give up his seat as the county executive and would be in a position to run again. When Jenkins, in his statement, talks about budget woes and budget concerns, Astorino, of course, has the issue that I have managed to keep the budget in check for all the years I've been in office with no tax increase.
7 straight years.
Yeah.
Jim, any comments on the Jenkins candidacy?
I think that he's got some issues he can pick up on. I think that there are some things that can be said as far as the budget being held at where it is. There's going to come a point where they're going to have to cut services or they're going to have to increase taxes, which he will probably be confronted with, which is not a great situation to be in.
But we still have a long way to go until the
lot can
county
happen in a
executive
year.
cycle comes around. So
A
we
lot
will
can
see.
happen.
We will see.
And the other election news on the local level is that Julie Killian of Rye is opposing George Latimer for the 37th District, and we will be interviewing Ms. Killian next week on People to Be Heard. She accepted our invitation, and we'll do the interview.
And we do have an invitation
yes.
out to George Latimer
Right,
to
and
appear.
George, if you're watching tonight, and I know you are, because you're a smart guy, and so therefore, just give us a call and we will interview you too.
Yeah, there are many questions to be asked of Julie Killian, such as, is she going to support the leader of the Republican ticket that she'll be running on, Donald Trump?
Well, that is an interesting question, and I'm sure she will have an answer for us. It's really a
I'm not
tough
sure.
question.
A lot of Republicans running do not have an answer. That's one question they try to avoid,
Right.
like the plague.
Right. Okay, now it's time for our continuing feature, Trump Today and Clinton and Friends, with Peter Katz with his pragmatic look at what happened this week. It's always bizarre.
Well, the name-calling continued this week, and it's gotten really nasty with Donald Trump calling Hillary Clinton a bigot and Hillary Clinton calling Donald Trump a racist because of some of the things that he has said and some of the people that he has surrounded himself with, taking support from white supremacists and nationalists and what they call the alt-right, far
alt-right?
extreme edge.
The alt-right?
Yes, of the conservative movement here, and actually many conservatives try to separate themselves from it. But what has been happening is that, from my standpoint anyway, some of the questions that have been raised about why Trump says some of the things that he says, why he acted in the way that he did during the Republican primary season, do become a little clearer when you look at the people that Trump has brought in to run his campaign. As we reported last week, he hired on a fellow named Steve Bannon, who ran a website called Breitbart, which is at the extreme of the right wing. In fact, this website has published things which are outright anti-Semitic, which are white supremacist, which are just plain nasty. And he also brought in a person named Kellyanne Conway, who is a Republican pollster by trade, but she formerly ran a political action committee which was pro-Ted Cruz. When Ted Cruz dropped out, then she was looking for something else to do. Now, there's a tie here between her and Steve Bannon in that Breitbart.com and the PAC that she ran supporting Ted Cruz were both funded by a New York hedge fund manager by the name of Robert Mercer. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that not only does Mercer fund Breitbart, and not only did he fund the political action committee that supported Cruz, but he also is Donald Trump's largest contributor. So what has happened is that the power structure in the Trump campaign has now coalesced around people associated with the far, far, far alt-right, as it's called.
He's cruising, yes.
Cruising for something.
Yes.
This has become quite disturbing to some people in the constitutional conservative movement, the more traditionalists, so much so that I was surprised this week when a fellow named Glenn Beck, who may be known to some people, he is a conservative commentator, considers himself to be a strong constitutionalist, had a show on Fox for many, many years, on Fox News, and now has his own operation, his own television show, which he syndicates himself, and daily radio program. He, very strangely, I was surprised by this, went on MSNBC, which is characterized as a liberal news network.
He asked to be on, didn't he?
Yes, he did,
yeah.
To complain about what has happened to the Trump campaign and to say that he Glenn Beck, cannot support Donald Trump because of his association with these far, far, far right
so is he supporting
nationalists and globalists. He evaded that particular comment.
Oh, once again, another softball.
Yeah. So the campaign for president continues to be in the area of rather bizarre and a through-the-looking-glass experience for those trying to make some sense out of it. But it does appear that Donald Trump is, at least his campaign, is being controlled at the moment by him, of course, but he has surrounded himself. He has surrounded himself with people who are at the extreme end of the political spectrum. This controversy, as it appears in Republican circles, is providing a real dilemma for what had been the Republican establishment, because the people now in charge, this fellow Bannon is the CEO, Kellyanne Conway is the manager of his campaign, were involved with Robert Mercer, who was behind, so it's reported, efforts to get rid of Eric Cantor, the effort which did get rid of John Boehner as Speaker of the House, and it said that Mr. Mercer funded the opposition this past primary to Speaker of the House Paul Ryan. So, in addition to
it becomes more divided by the day.
In addition to the commentary which we hear, to the nasty speeches, to the trading of insults back and forth, we see that questions are being raised as to just what is Donald Trump representing in his campaign? Where does he come from? He exacerbates this every time he refuses to take a stand on an issue, to explain the details of his policies, and most recently where he appears to be flip-flopping on a key issue that brought him success in the primary, which is the matter of immigration.
Right,
and
still a very
he seems
big
to be
issue.
unable to enunciate
always with us.
And understandable immigration policy.
Right. Well, to be sorted out in, what, 75 days? 73 days. And then it'll be all over, and we can dump this whole thing, you know?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. But at any rate, I'm sick of it.
Well,
I'm truly sick of it.
you may not be able to dump it and just tuck it away, because the Republican Party, as we have known it for all of these years,
It's imploding
our
on
lifetimes,
itself. It's like a dwarf star.
may be very different. It appears on the surface, anyway, that it's been taken over by this extreme alt-right element.
And there's such a reason to go that way, isn't there? They've been so successful the last 15 years in their policies, haven't they? You can look at the record, how successful they've been. Look at your equity, for example. It's a joke. It really is. Meanwhile, back on the local level, for things that really matter to Westchester, and that's Playland. The shocker of the week. Number one, we take a walk at Playland every once in a while. Yesterday we went out there, and bingo, we see parking, $10. And also, yesterday, the Board of Legislators put out a press release here which decried Rye City's environmental claims, in which they want to have final say in the in what is going to actually be done at Playland.
Yeah, the City of Rye, they filed an Article 78 lawsuit against the county, Westchester County, saying that we're the immediate neighbor here and we should have some rights. We should have been involved in the environmental process, and we want our say-so.
They were. As I recall, they had a lot to say about it. But at any rate, what was interesting to me is how is Playland doing? So I received these figures from Westchester County last night, and the attendance at Playland is down 8%, 400,000 to 436,000 over the year. The revenue is down 6.5%, 7.761 million compared to 8,307,000 last year. The parking, however, was up 33% in revenues, $1 million to about 800,000.
And what's one reason for that,
James?
What's one reason for that, John?
High price of,
they raised the price of parking. It's now $10.
Yes, but I do not know how long that $10 has been in effect.
I assume since the beginning of the season, but I don't know. I was surprised to see that $10.
To be $7.
Well, it was $7 last year. I know that for certain.
But the biggest days were May 29th, 15,295. That's a lot of people in that little space. And the July 4th weekend. So people like this place for the holidays. And
yeah, the question is this lawsuit by Rye going to slow down any of the changes at Rye, any of the reconstruction, rebuilding, modernization, whatever you want to call it? Yeah. And in order to do that, Rye would have to get an injunction, I would think, to block the county and Standard Amusements from going ahead and making changes. And I don't know that they actually plan to do that.
Well, Matt Richter of the Board of Legislators Communications Director told me yesterday that right now the city is probably, the county is probably going to file a notice of a stop order or something, and also point by point.
A stop work order.
Yeah, stop. There's a term for that.
Well, stop work order. An injunction.
No, an injunction, right, or whatever. It's a legal term. After all, I'm a lawyer. I pretend to be one occasionally, but I'm not. Okay.
I'll hire you the next time I have an automobile.
Well, there are a lot of pretenders out there. But at any rate, he also said, I asked him if this is making Standard Amusements shy on the deal, and he said, no, Nick Price understands that litigation is just part of the process.
Nick Price is the fellow they're dealing with who runs
Standard Amusements Consortium. So that does not appear to be a threat.
Yeah, well, they're moving ahead with things at Westchester Airport. Actually, we found out this morning, as Jim mentioned in the headlines, that Delta is going... I'm sorry, it's American Airlines.
American Airlines is going to have two flights
to Miami, non-stops to Miami out of Westchester Airport.
And actually, it's American Eagle, so they're going to use E173.
Well, American Eagle, yeah, that's the commuter or one of the commuter names,
Embraer,
airline names that American.
It's an Embraer plane.
But American Airlines is good to have. They've been running out of Westchester Airport for a long time. Something else is starting. In fact, as we're recording this program, there's the first flight from Westchester to London on using what's called a public charter. It's not an airline where you can go up there and actually buy a ticket to London and get on an airplane. What it is, it's a membership group. It's called Jet Smarter. You have to join them as a member. But once you do that, then you can get on what are called public charters. They're operated by licensed, regulated airplane operators. This Jet Smarter will book you on one of the flights going out. And for $1,900 or thereabouts, so you can get a round-trip flight on typically a Gulfstream, which is it's a large business jet, and you fly in the equivalent of first-class comfort over to London.
How was that pricing?
$1,900 for a first-class round-trip ticket to London. Sounds
Did you
good
use
to me.
that? The pricing of $1,900 round trip to London?
That sounds like a pretty good price. I haven't done any round trips to London recently, but for flying overseas, that sounds like it's fairly standard.
They don't operate out of the terminal building. They operate from what's called a fixed base operator. It's a private setup there with office space and lounge areas and hangars and so forth. And they will bring in customs to do this, because since it's an international flight, you have to show your passport and have your your bag screened and stuff like that.
But they all also have to build up a customs facility coming in.
No, actually they don't. I mean,
they already have one?
They already. Westchester Airport is an airport of entry, and you get.
So they don't have to do any.
You get individual customs service.
Okay.
For instance, when I would come back from Canada, I'd go over to one of the FBOs. Customs would come over. You would be isolated, but they would screen you right at the airplane. They'd inspect the airplane,
so
and then they would allow you
can
in
just
the country.
start. Meanwhile, we did go flying this week. We went into the Wild Blue Yonder, right from Westchester Airport. We're heading out to Block Island, and as we approached it, from the southeast, we spotted something strange, and this is what it was.
Actually, it was from the southwest that we approached.
Yeah, you approached from the southwest. It is in the southeast. So there is it is the beginnings of a wind turbine, and these are the rest of them, right offshore there. The other
to generate electricity.
Absolutely, it's 3 miles offshore.
What has been happening at Block Island, just by way of perspective, is that it's been costing them 63 cents per kilowatt hour to generate electricity to service that island.
They are really
here,
high on this.
Here in Westchester, if we end up paying maybe 20 cents, you can do the comparison.
We flip out.
Yeah. So it makes good economic sense to go wind power there, and they have built these towers underwater based on the seabed, and they
run a cable to the shore.
They will be operational.
About
John
2 to 3 months.
John has some of the figures involved, and it's impressive.
What do they do in the event of, say, a severe hurricane? Do those get knocked down, or do they?
They might very well.
Good question. I don't know.
But that is hurricane country out there.
Presumably they would be
Heavy
built,
water.
to sustain gusts of maybe 150 miles an hour or something.
Well, some statistics on this, which have implications for New York State's push to green energy and more green energy facilities, including wind. It is a 30 megawatt capacity. It's costing $290 million. The state of Rhode Island invited companies to submit proposals. Deepwater wind was chosen in 2008, so it is just about 9 years to build 5. Okay, and they think that they will reduce power to 24.4 cents per kilowatt hour. And they're 670 feet high, and the blades double the wing size of a 747 jet.
And we mention this because of the interest here in Westchester and in White Plains in green sources of electricity. They're talking about doing a lot with solar here in White Plains and Westchester, and wind seems to be another major green power source.
Yes, but let's figure out where we couldn't put it.
Well,
There's
you know,
lots of water all around.
From time to time, you hear talk about putting these things offshore, off
and this
Long
is
Island.
the first offshore in America that has been done. That's why it's important.
I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was someplace in Europe, but they had solar fields.
With the wind power?
No.
Or just separately?
These are solar panels. They have just fields of them.
Yeah, I saw that in Poland, and that was fascinating to me.
Yeah, so I must have
Poland's
seen
got it, we don't. That's tremendous for Poland.
Did we mention Sheldon Silver?
No, we didn't.
Well, he's going to be out.
Yeah,
out on. He had been scheduled to surrender himself to go to jail on the corruption conviction at the end of this month. But just yesterday, this is Friday, so this was Thursday, a judge up in Albany, a U.S. District Court judge by the name of Valerie Caproni, ruled that he can remain free while he appeals his conviction.
Right. Well, I'm speechless. But
here in White Plains, there's an issue now with a firefighter. The city has filed charges against him. It's an employment issue because the allegation is that the firefighter hid evidence. You may remember the Eric Repick case. This was a firefighter who had a little too much to drink at there were bars
at
named
those four
by
bars. That's from a district attorney press release.
Named the bars at which this guy was drinking and drove the wrong way,
and
had an accident. It was a fatal accident.
And to our knowledge, there has never been any inquiry by the Common Council as to how the bar manages people that are apparently drinking too much or even pays attention to it.
The city says one of the firemen withheld evidence in this case, and so they filed charges.
Right now, just congratulations to these teachers, Lisa Filat and Lauren Barrios of White Plains. They are the math enrichment and visual spatial enrichment teachers honored by Microsoft. That came out this week. Congratulations to them. John Bailey, Peter Katz, Jim Benerofe. Good night for White Plains Week.
This has been White Plains Week. News and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.